Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
Sorry, I'm going to be watching the monitor on this side because we've been fluctuating in terms of how our stream is looking.
Tech's a bit wonky today.
Yeah. Um, but let's talk about what we've been up to this week. That's outside of Star Wars. We like to start there usually, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll start with you.
Alright, let's see. First things first, my mom is down visiting briefly.
Okay, so some family time going on this week.
A little bit. She's actually, I think she's at a wedding right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you're having fun, Miss Jennifer.
I think.
Well,
More than
if you
likely.
are.
So that was fun. She showed up last night.
Yeah.
We talked for a while.
Yeah. Usual family stuff.
Yeah.
Catching up, especially since she doesn't live around here, so whenever she comes down, it's a whole visit. It'd be different if she lived down the street or lived in Mobile but she's not around the area, so yeah. Any Cyberpunk 2020?
Oh, Cyberpunk 2020. So, Steve has a new character named Nova. I'm not entirely sure what to do with them. But first things first, I'm like, okay, how am I going to introduce him to the party? Show that, the party is useful and can help him with his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Nova has a girlfriend. And I'm like, all right, okay, where can I go from this? Why would?
Yeah, what can you do as a storyteller?
So I go about 10 minutes before the game starts over to Steve, and I'm like, how do you feel about your loved ones being kidnapped? Which is a wild thing to ask out of context.
But in a game that makes that's a discussion you as a DM are going to have with your players, where you're like, hey, what can I do with characters you've given me to mess with, right? Because the kind of the unwritten contract in being a player and a storyteller, DM, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how
they use the word referee.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, the referee, whatever. Like the silent contract is the player gives you their background, so that way you as a referee in this case can use that in your storytelling to make the game feel more personal for them. And
while Cyberpunk does have a great section on what it expects from referees, in that it's like, this is Cyberpunk. If they want that happy shit, they can go back to that game.
Yeah. We talked about this, yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, you're cool with this? And he's like, sure, man. The character's not going to be, but I approve of it. I'm like, all right, cool. So, loved one is kidnapped immediately, taken out to a gas station. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, just to prove they mean business, and you need to come to see us now for essentially the antagonist for this little side mission.
Yeah.
Basically, they're Spinal Cybernetic was locking up, and so his henchmen were like, this guy's like a world-renowned cybertech engineer. Let's kidnap his girlfriend and make him come to our garage basement so he can help our boss.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh yeah, by the way, once again, to prove that we mean business, bang! And they're like, by the way, you might want to hurry up. Your girlfriend's life is on a timer now, by the way.
Yeah. TikTok.
And so Nova's like, so I might need some help getting my girlfriend back. And I'm like, all right, well, you got a solo and a fixer. So for context, solos are the fighters of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And fixers are basically like people who get jobs and divvy them out among a certain amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sky and Chris, who are playing Cosmo is Sky's character, and Core is Chris's character the solo. So they're like, well, we'll go with them because we're like, you just lost your brother like 2 days ago. You probably don't need to lose your girlfriend too.
Yeah.
And so they go and they do that. They get there to the gas station, and I'm like, all right. So there's a couple of guys out front, and Nova's like, well, I'll just go in because I'm supposed to be here. And they're like talking about plans and how they're gonna do everything. So this ends up with Steve's character Nova being down in the basement doing the surgery like they asked him to, and Cosmo and Core being like, it's been about 30 minutes. Let's get this party started.
Okay.
Core is a demon when it comes to combat in that game. The fact that he is... I had to type in the following question in my computer, and I'm now on a watch list for this somewhere, I'm imagining. Would you like to know how much the human skull weighs?
Are you asking me, or is that like... I mean...
Yeah, sure. Why don't you take a guess?
I mean, like the average?
Sure.
Because I would assume it's different based on age and...
Yeah.
I'm not going to guess. I'll let you
The
just...
answer is between 6 to 11 pounds. The reason I know this is because Core has a tendency to pick up enemies he has killed and throw them at other enemies.
Oh, so you had to figure out, like, approximate, like...
They may not be entirely whole. By the end, he has done this 4 times. In different games, mind you. Meanwhile, after that, while they're still sort of clearing the base and looking for people, and they're supposed to be rescuing Nova's girlfriend, would you like to know what Cosmo's doing?
Probably something chaotic.
He's eating chips in the gas station.
Okay, not that chaotic, but also just, like, very chill for what's going down elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That is a case of, it's like in a movie or a show when the action scene's going on somewhere, and then you hard cut to, like, somebody just chilling with music, like, light music playing in the background. That's essentially what just happened there.
Except they're 4 feet away from each other.
No, that type of scene can still happen, like that.
And the best part is, because of how Cyberpunk works, if you don't say, like, headshots do double damage in that, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you don't declare where you're hitting someone, you need to roll a d10 to see where it hits them. And so many people just died because, like, their leg got ripped off. Don't worry, the players are subject to these rules too.
Yeah.
Which is how, after, busting in the door, killing 2 guys, and then not actually finding Nova's girlfriend, we end up with the situation of Core getting his arm blasted off.
Oh, well, time to go to the robotics shop.
Mm-hmm. He didn't die from that, by the way.
No, I figured not. I figure this is... I figure in Cyberpunk they expect those type of injuries because then, because it also rewards you for being able to replace limbs. Like, so it would be a weird situation of being able to replace limbs but dying from a limb coming off easily.
Most of the time, a regular person would just die, right?
Yeah.
Here is how it works in Cyberpunk. when you take damage, you need to make a stun save to basically be like, okay, I'm still good, I can keep going. There are death saves in Cyberpunk.
Yeah. There's got to be stakes.
Which is the same setting as your stun save. You need to roll underneath, like, your body type modifier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured there's, like, a number that says you're fine, a number that says you took a severe, like, damage still, so, like, a limb, and then a number that says you died.
Yeah.
Is it essentially...
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the injury levels in Cyberpunk go light, wounded, critical, mortal.
Yeah. It's kind of like in D&D, that something that not a lot of enough people use, and I barely use it. I also commit this sin. But critical injuries is a thing in D&D, but nobody really uses them, because... I mean, there you can pull the DM screen right there. I mean, the one for Grim Hollow right there, yeah. That, I mean, it has the critical injuries and like what can happen, or grievous wounds So grievous wounds are like critical injuries essentially. So like that's a thing that's in regular D&D, but nobody really uses them. You should, honestly, and I should, because they create an interesting thing where it creates long-term effects for the characters, your players, and forces them to have to think future down the line. Oh shit, I need to remember not to do what I did this time.
Yeah.
Because that's how I almost died.
Yeah.
And now I have this scar to prove it. And also there's permanent wounds, which is like a further extension of grievous wounds. So grievous wound you can heal over time. A permanent wound, as the name implies, is permanent.
Now, the thing about Chris's character core, right, is bro has... Ordinarily, you can't have a body type modifier above, like, a 10. Well, actually, that is true. His is maxed out at above, like, a body score of 10, right? That's, like, the best a normal person gets.
Yep.
Chris's character, his main cybernetic, is an omega frame. So his body score is, like, 16 or something. Even with half of his arm blown off, his body type modifier, his, like, body save, in order to not die, is at a 10. Meaning, if he rolls below a 10, he's good. He can keep going. Like, technically, you should be doing it every round, but I'm also like, it's fine if, like, I'm not gonna rush him. But, like, I realize just how tough it actually, in theory, would be.
Yeah.
I'm like, and even Steve at the time was like, hey, Seth, when it was like, oh, by the way, don't hesitate to just waste characters. Maybe you should listen to that. I'm like, you know what? In the future, I will. Because, like, by the time these characters have to go to the hospital because... getting your arm blown off and shot through the knee, that usually is worth a hospital trip, right?
Normally.
Yeah. So, this comes up with the next fun question that I and the game is expected. It's like, does your character have insurance? Nova has, like, a family insurance plan for in case shit goes sideways.
Oh, that's good. Good for them.
Core doesn't. Because Core's wanted by the FBI. And so, Core's like... He's like, I'll fuck you up. And the receptionist is like, no you won't. Actually, it's going to cost you 15 grand right here, right now, out of pocket for us to help you.
Yeah, some out of pocket, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, above game, I'm like, Chris has way more than enough money but I'm also like, in world, that's a justifiable reason to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nova is taken care of because, you know, he's got like the trauma team silver package, and they eventually both of them pay their dues and are like brought in and everything's fine. And the nurses goes over to like Cosmo and Nova, and they're like, "Hey, you need to get out and go home while we go and take care of your friends." And so Nova is like, "What? I have trauma team silver. You can't just actually, you know what? Yeah, I should go home." And they just are looking at Cosmo and they're like, "You don't have insurance and you're not hurt. Why are you here?"
Yeah, you're uninsured. Get out of here. You're broke, you brokey.
None of the characters are broke.
No, I know, but
they're like,
that's the reaction, though,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
that's pretty much it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So they go home, and
there we go. We're back up.
okay,
There we go. Sorry, everybody. We had a
slight hiccup.
Yeah, slight hiccup. We're back.
Yeah.
You were saying though.
So Core gets out of the hospital the next day, right?
Yeah.
And who should show up but Special Agent Mono from the FBI?
Oh.
Because now that we've gotten done with Cosmo's eye implant and lobotomy via blackmail by Judge Lady, it's now on to Core's arc, which is I've decided to call it No Way Out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Hey, we need you to get in good with the Scottagalia family as an informant for us. Otherwise, that $1 million bounty you've got from New York is going to become everyone's open information on Night City." And I'm like, so here's the deal: you work for the FBI now.
Yep.
And so this has out of game prompted Chris to be like to cash in one of his background events, which is that corporate executive owes him one favor, and he's using that to basically get 5 cybernetics. I've asked him what he wants, but he hasn't said anything.
Interesting.
I need that information by Tuesday.
Hey, in case you're watching this.
Hey Chris, in case you're watching this, I really need that information. I know I need to send you the book, and I'll do that probably later tonight.
But he also needs the information.
Yeah. That's how the Cyberpunk game is going. What about you, man?
I've been mostly kind of chilling. I've been playing some for the past. I've now played it a couple times now. I've been playing Protocol Lockdown.
Oh yeah.
With some of the friends from streaming.
What's that game about?
It's basically first-person shooter Among Us type thing.
All right.
Except when the traitor, which they call the dissident, so it's there's employees where you're working for a space company trying to get everything going, but then you have the dissident who's trying to stop everything from working, right? And you have a certain amount of time to do all your tasks. But what's different is, even if you killed the dissident, which you will not know if you killed the dissident, you just have to hope that you got rid of him. You still have to, as employees, complete the tasks.
Okay.
So the dissident still has a chance to win if you fail to complete all the tasks in time. And so the trick for a dissident is not to always be rushing to kill everybody, even though you get guns and stuff that you can do that with. But it's actually to just fuck with their equipment and make it to where they can't complete the tasks by like hiding things somewhere, and they have to go to the other part of the map to go grab something that compared to where it would have been.
I have a question. Has anyone just guessed who the dissident is right off the bat and just taken care of it?
Pretty much that stuff happens all the time. It's still very much like Among Us energy, where you're like, oh, for the lulz, we're just gonna say it's this person. And sometimes, The other thing is your stamina can kill you, so you can kill yourself.
What?
So if you run or jump too much, your health bar is attached to your stamina.
Okay.
So your stamina is your health bar as well. So you're dropping your health bar when you do stamina things. So at first you have like a second layer of health. That's your stamina. But once that's gone, if you're still using your stamina, you're using your health.
Okay.
Now, if you stop using your stamina long enough, your health can regenerate. So if you get shot a couple times and somehow you survive, usually shooting is like a one-shot, one-kill situation. But if you somehow survive, you can get your health back up to 100 without like having to find health packs or anything.
So, like, someone clips you in the arm, if you're able to stay away from them long enough and don't use up your stuff, it'll just come back over time.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and so there's funny TikToks of like bigger streamers that have played it who do like silly shit where they'll come up to somebody and they're jumping and they're like, nobody's gonna ever believe you, nobody's gonna believe you, and then they die because they killed themselves on purpose, and then everybody comes in like, what'd you do? What'd you do? And it's like, they killed themselves. What'd you do? They said that you wouldn't believe me.
Gun, a likely story.
And so, it's very chaos energy game. It's a fun game because of that. We're gonna snooze that ad because we actually have our own ad real quick. Because we are sponsored today by HelloFresh. You ever too busy to make food? Like
all the time.
Like you're just too busy to pick out what you're gonna make. HelloFresh is good for that. HelloFresh,
Is it now?
Yeah, you can already pick out your ingredients and like have it already shipped to you and go meal plan yourself essentially and go, hey, I want to have this today and this week and that next week. And so then they ship you everything. And the annoying part about meal prep is having to get the ingredients a lot of the time, especially if you want to save money nowadays. You want to buy your ingredients separately, right? The problem with that is you just need a little bit of sugar or a little bit of salt. You got to buy a whole pack of salt.
Yeah, that's fair.
And say you're like, I'm probably not going to use this for a few meals, but now I've just bought this whole pack. Now I got to come up with meals to work around that. HelloFresh helps you avoid that as well because they send you the ingredients just for what you need to make each meal. So you pick your meal and they go, here you go, this is what you need to make that meal. And they send you instructions on how to make it so you can make some meals that maybe you've never made before, and you're like, well, how do I make that? Oh, it comes with the instructions. Look at that. And say you're too busy to plan a meal one week, you can also skip a week and tell them in advance, hey, I don't want a meal this week. Because you already know you're not going to use it, right? So all of those are benefits of HelloFresh. And if you sign up using our link and code, you can get 10 free meals and free breakfast for life with it. So that's the benefits of that if you sign up using our code, right? The link is in the description box if you're watching on YouTube, and it's in the chat right now if you're watching on Twitch. So, yeah. So, yeah, go check them out at least. At the very least, click the link, check it out. It's a pretty good deal. If you're doing like I did like the cheapest plan, it was like 2 meals, 2 whatever, right? It was like for 2 people. 2 meals for 2 people. That's the cheapest you can do. It was like 30 something with this plan, whereas normally it'd be like 50 something.
All right.
So you're saving a good chunk. And so yeah, you get your first 10 free meals, and then you get free breakfast for life. All right, let's go back to just talking about what we've been up to. Outside of that, I actually did want to talk about D&D because that video, the acquisitions episode, has come out since.
Oh yeah.
Because we haven't talked about their time in Baldur's Gate too deeply since I was waiting for the episode to come out publicly.
Yeah.
So well, the episode before, because you were talking about working with your players, or no, you were talking about knowing how much money they have and making something expensive based on how much money they have. So 2 episodes before, for acquisitions, I had to do the same. Actually, no, it was this for this episode. So for this episode, I had to do the same exact thing, because one of the long-going plots is that Thias, Matt's character, needs a wish spell. if he wants to get rid of his aberration disease that he's got. Disease, whatever, infection, whatever you want to call it.
Curse.
Yeah, aberration curse really fits better.
Yeah. Because it's not something he can just go in, stop by, and get. Yeah. Sorry, we don't have Elder God vaccinations.
Yeah.
Yet. I'm working on it.
Although they do have, like, I mean, the book they have does have, like, instructions for, like, hey, as long as it's within the first year, just get these ingredients, and you can cast a spell, and then you're good. But now they're past the year. It's been, like, three or 4 years in game now since he's had it. So now it's a case of, okay, we need the wish spell. But also now they need 2 wish spells. Because also Marlowe has it, Corinna's character.
Ah, shit.
Because she did touch that goo that one time when he threw it up.
Biohazard.
Yeah, biohazard. And so it's finally been revealed, oh, yeah, it does nothing until the guy who owns it was like, actually, I'm going to make it do something because I need to blackmail you, extortion you, really. I need to extortion you into doing something for me. I already knew you were going to correct me, so that's why I had to correct myself. I already knew. Because this is a discussion we have had too many times.
Yeah.
It's just so similar of a thing. Like
the terms are almost interchangeable.
Yeah, it's really just a matter of how they're being used. There is an ad coming up. I'm sorry for anybody that is on Twitch that is not a subscriber to us, but you are about to have an ad in about 40-ish seconds.
We've talked about this before in terms of, like, party morality. I was thinking about this. I'm like, I don't know if the fuck, I can't use the word the boys.
The Boom
Boys would get along well with the Acquisitions group.
Yeah, Acquisitions tries to have a heroic standard. I say try because they still do what all D&D parties do and fuck about and do their thing. So, like, I think that just comes with the territory of playing D&D, is that, yeah, your players are generally going to try to be the good guys, but at the same time, there's going to be some fucking around that you as a DM have to, like, just kind of go with.
Yeah.
Boom Boys are kind of on the... I'd say they're still pretty moral, and they still are good people at heart. It's just they're in such a bad world that, like, they're just, like... Their spirits are broken.
Sometimes you have to burn some motherfuckers in the woods and not talk about it.
Yeah. Whereas, and then Ravenloft, they're getting better at being heroes. The Sirens, they are getting better at being, because I have noticed that as they've gotten to care, because doing here's where Ravenloft is a hard game to run. Well, let me finish the Acquisition story
We'll talk more Acquisitions, and then we'll go on to, like, the rest of this conversation.
So the Acquisitions crew, so because of that, I had to figure out, okay, well, one, a little behind the scenes, Matt actually doesn't want to get rid of the aberration.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, my character wants to get rid of the aberration, but I don't want to get rid of the aberration. Because it's a character versus player situation, right?
Yeah.
So obviously his character would want to get rid of it, but as a storyteller and a player, Matt's like, I don't want to get rid of it because I think it's good for the story. And so I had to work around, okay, well, how do I make that work? And so in order to do that, I just made Wish spell scroll more expensive because the only way to cast Wish is with because there is no spell components to Wish. I learned.
Yeah.
There is just the fee. You either have the gold to cast it, and you are the spell level. You have to be the spellcaster level, or you have a spell scroll.
Yep.
Which makes the cash, like, you don't need the cash, essentially. Well, actually, no, you don't need the cash even for a regular one. You just need to have the spell. You have to be the spellcaster level. Obviously, they are not the spellcaster level, because otherwise they would have already cast it by now.
Yeah. The funny thing about Wish is that it's like, congratulations, the spell is that you've altered a fundamental aspect of reality to suit your whims, And the knockback effect, I think if I'm remembering correctly,
It can do
I might be
damage to
wrong.
you.
It can do damage to you, and it can also be like you can't use any magic for 3 days.
Yeah. Welcome
some
back
shit.
to those that were in the ad break.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just talking about behind the scenes of like Wish and how acquisitions works. Where Matt doesn't want to actually cast Wish, but his character does.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so my solution was I was reading like what you can do with Wish, and it says something along the lines of I think it's 10,000. You can get up to 10,000 gold. I think it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can like as an example, it's like you can get an item worth about 10,000 gold. And so it's like, oh, I wish I had this item. Or I wish I had 10,000 gold. You could just wish for the gold outright, obviously. So I was like, well, they're buying from the black market. There's going to be an uptick in that price. Mm-hmm. If the most that you can wish for is something worth 10,000, then probably standard market value is that a wish spell scroll is about 10,000 normally.
Mm-hmm.
What if I made it 100,000? I just did a 10% markup. Just add an extra 0. Yeah, it's technically, that is a 10%, I mean. And that caused them to fight with the man that was where you
Fuck you.
They didn't like fight him, but
They had a verbal disagreement.
That led to them going, well, we're friends with the Flaming Fist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you were listening into that.
I was like, wait a minute. Why would you tell them that?
They were like, we're friends with the Flaming Fist, because they were They had already met with Abdel, who's the Grand Duke and is in charge of the Flaming Fist, so they already had an insider on that. Which is basically going, I'm friends with the cops when going to a drug deal.
Yeah.
And obviously, the black market guy was like, I don't want to deal with that. Out. Later. And also, I'm never dealing with you guys ever again.
It's like, well, fuck.
Which made Marlo and Thias have an argument, which was...
Marlo, what the fuck is wrong with you?
We needed that. And he's like, yeah, but we can't afford that. And she's like, we could have worked something out.
We could have cut a deal.
But then you brought up the cops.
And now the police are here.
So, yeah. So, that's how I created a situation where, okay, they can't get Wish Spell now. Even though... Theoretically, yeah, you could easily get Wish Spell any other time. Also, but Wish Spell makes sense to be that expensive on a black market, I think. Because technically, they are not allowed to spell magic scrolls in Baldur's Gate. Sorcerer Sundries can sell the components to cast magic, but Sorcerer Sundries does not have a license to sell magic scrolls. So you can buy the components you need to cast a spell, but you can't buy the spells themselves, which makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Because even non-magic users can use a spell scroll.
Mm-hmm.
So if they just allowed people to buy magic missile, imagine how many criminals would just buy magic missiles all the time, who are like just.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? If you were a rogue and you're trying to break into houses. Yeah, I'm gonna go buy a bunch of magic missiles because they sell those spells over at the shop, and I don't have to know magic to use them.
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta know how to read.
Yeah. If I have an intelligence score of 10 or higher, I could use this.
So, yeah, and going back to Ravenloft though, and like the comparison of like heroicness, I think. Doing a Ravenloft campaign is difficult in the sense that every time you do a Ravenloft campaign, like, there can be exceptions, like you can have somebody from Ravenloft, but 99% of the time, Ravenloft is an isekai story. It's an isekai anime, essentially. You're sending players from whatever other world to Ravenloft, to Barovia. So the problem becomes, how do I make my players care about Barovia? And you can sense... Because the first few episodes are out, so like you can sense in the first few episodes that is the problem the girls are having, is like, why do I care about these people? They sound whiny, and they sound like they're not trying. They sound like they're actually making their own lives worse. Is what like the reading they gave off of like when they went to, because they started in when they went to the village of Barovia. They were like, why are these people doing these terrible things? Why do I care about them? Because like the church there, he put his son, who had turned into a vampire, in the basement, and they were like, well, why do we care to help him if this is how he's reacting to this, rather than just dealing with his son being a vampire? It's like, because they're in a dark situation where there's not a lot of options. And so, but also, I get their side of it of like, I don't care about this yet. Why should I care about this person yet? Same thing with like the parents that gave their kid away to the hag for the pies.
Yeah.
It's like, why are these parents doing that? What kind of awful people are these people? And it's like, yes, they're awful, but it's also because of the situation in life they're in. But now that there's so many sessions in, they start to they're getting it. They're getting what kind of place this is, and they're seeing that there is some people that have hope. Hey, welcome to the stream. We're just talking about our weeks and D&D right now. We're nerding out, and then we'll get to our main topic soon. We like to talk about whatever first.
Now, the funny thing is that, like, acquisitions is a, pretty good.
Yeah.
So, the difference, I think, between the three, right, is that...
Thanks for the follow, by the way.
Acquisitions is like this is more on the economic side. Acquisitions is a corporate-owned business.
Yeah, they are a subsidiary. They are a franchise within the larger corporation. Yeah,
in like a good time. Whereas like,
yeah, because the whole company's thing is go on adventures, make money doing adventures, which is why I'm able to just throw them into classic D&D adventures that, like, we're doing Murder in Baldur's Gate right now.
Yeah.
And they are in a time before 5th edition technically is. Like, they're in that in-between 4th and 5th because it's the D&D Next stuff. So they're, like, in a good era of the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you were saying, though.
Whereas, like, the Ravenloft crew is, if you know, in Barovia... Things are bad all the time.
Yeah.
Economically, religiously. The housing situation in Barovia is not great either.
I mean, I guess the housing's not that difficult, though, because, you know, considering the same souls keep recycling. I mean, when people die, then the new people come back and it's the same souls. I mean, the housing's not that bad, probably.
Yeah. But the sirens are stuck there. They can't leave.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment.
Until they deal with Strahd.
Until they deal with Strahd, because that's
how
Curse of Strahd works.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Boom Boys are a bunch of freelance mercs in a world that does not like heroism, but they're trying their best.
But also it's kind of like a Witcher situation where we don't like the Witchers, but we need them, because without them, then we'd be overrun with monsters.
Careful, the Boom Boys will knock on your door at 3 a.m. shouting about books.
Our schedule is down below in the About, if you're on Twitch.
And so, like, also the discussion of, like, people thinking that Boone is smarter than he actually is. And I'm like, me explaining, like, no, stat-wise, Boone is not, like, the smartest or most charming member of the group. And I'm like, people just think that because Boone will let other people talk and listen to him. He'll listen to them tell him what they want or need.
Yeah.
Or he'll be like the voice of reason who's like, alright, Hubie or Laxnor, we can't just go and beat the shit out of them.
What? We can't.
No. We have to figure out what's going on first. Unless you're Tanachi, in which case you're just confused and will shoot at whatever
the party tells you to.
Yeah.
Whatever they tell you they need Fireball for.
Like Snore encountering an enemy he can't burn for the first time. It's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
D&D fun.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's really all I got to talk about right now. There's not too much going on this week, really, other than I've been reading.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into some Star Wars news. There's only one piece of news, and
Okay.
it's kind of a loss. It's a downer. We lost somebody. We lost film producer Robert Watts, who worked on the original trilogy, and is often given credit for Jeremy Bulloch auditioning for the role of Boba Fett, as they were half brothers.
Okay.
So the original Boba Fett in armor, so the actual guy in the armor in the original films. He also worked on Robert Watts also worked on the original 3 Indiana Jones films, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and the film Alive. That's the one I don't know very well, but the rest of I mean, that's a fantastic legacy of work to leave behind. So like, this guy did a lot for, I mean, in the industry.
I think one of the things that, like, I as a person don't necessarily realize is how many people actually have to work on movies.
Yeah, there's
you understand that because of reasons.
Yeah, because I want to get in that industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, and so like Robert Watts started as like I was reading a little bit up on it. He was like a assistant on the original Star Wars, and then he became like there's like a lower level producer, associate producer essentially for like Empire, and then kind of moved his way up as, you know, obviously, and then obviously that meant working his way up through Indiana Jones because Lucasfilm still, and then working on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's big in my. I mean, I need to figure. I should probably watch Alive and see what that film's like, because if that's one that a lot of, because I was basically looking at films that people were like talking about that he worked on, and that was a big one, and so I need to check that one out.
That sounds like it's
I think it's probably sci-fi.
a horror movie.
Let's see. Let me double check. Alive. It's probably this one. Hold on. Let me double check. Looking at the rest. Okay, this was a. It looks like it was based on a true. Yeah, this is about the. Oh, this is based on the 1972 airplane crash.
Mm.
The Uruguayan rugby team. Okay, so yeah. Okay, that's why it's well known. I do know that, or yeah. I do vaguely know about this movie. Like the a lot. So this one is based on a true story, and then there's like an actual like. There's like sort of an actual story behind that. So yeah, this. And it goes down the path you think it does when they're stuck in the mountains and.
Oh yeah, I read the description of the film just there.
Yeah, so it does go down the route you think it does. He also worked on American Tail Fievel Goes West as a producer. Yeah, so he was he was an associate producer on 5. It looks like he didn't work on it. I think he did work on New Hope as well. Yeah, he was a production supervisor. So he wasn't a producer yet, but he was on the producer side, like team of like management at the time. Because you have like your production side versus like, you know, you have your different part unit, like, you know, subsects of like what you work on. So yeah, he's got, that's a legacy, man.
Yeah.
That he's definitely, I believe he will absolutely be missed, both by people who are fans of his work and of course friends and family. So of course send our condolences to anybody who knew him, because I mean but he was also up there. He was 86. So, but I mean, that explains why he was in the industry for so long, though. Because I mean, apparently he worked on Space 2001 a little bit. It looks like. Yep. You Only Live Twice. So a James Bond film under there. Yeah. So. Nothing specific on how he died. It might have just been
old age.
Yeah.
Adam.
So, yeah, once again, send our condolences to friends and family. It's rough. We're losing a lot of people in the Star Wars family. I mean, James Earl Jones recently, and now this, and
yeah, the context of Star Wars, like the first one being,
because it was 77 for A New Hope.
That is a at least 50-year-old film at this point.
Almost. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Because it's now I'm having to do math. 87, 97, 2007, 2017. Yeah, so within a few years it'll be 50.
Yeah.
So, because I know we had our 40th already, because that's why they do the 40 short story collections. So yeah, we're almost 50. It's almost 50. Once in 2027 it'll be 50. Yeah. So 3 years from now, less than that really, because we're already almost at the end of 2024. Believe it or not.
How the fuck did you convince me to do this?
But yeah, so yeah, I mean,
I don't intend to stop, at least not for a while.
Hold on, now I didn't need to remember that.
What?
George Lucas is 80. I didn't need to remember that. But my brain was like, hell, I need to know, but also I don't.
The Force will sustain that man.
I hope. He's retired. He's living a good life. Let that man just... let him have his life. But yeah, with that, let's get into a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
Let's get into our main topic for today, which is the High Republic Tears of the Nameless.
Hell yeah!
New book. I could not find a physical copy.
Yeah.
I searched so hard for a physical copy. This man knows, because I told him. I was like, they don't have it.
Bro, you were fucking...
Because I went to, so... We had our digital copy.
Do you want to regale them of the saga?
Yeah, so we have our ebook copy. And so I sent you the ebook copy. And then I no audiobook yet, so I can't do the audiobook. My solution was the ebook since I do Google Play for ebooks, they have text to speech. That's my solution to that. Is I can listen to the text to speech even though I get mad about how they pronounce names. But at least my brain is paying attention. That means my brain's paying attention to it at least. Because that's how my brain works. I can read, but I also need to hear sometimes. And so, because that helps me just focus more. But I tried to get a physical book so that way we could have one, because I like to hold it for the show and for the camera. And so we couldn't. So I waited till my payday. Went to go look to see if there was any physical copies after my payday. I went to Books A Million because that's basically our main bookstore here. I mean, we have smaller mom and pop shops, but they don't ever carry stuff like that, especially day one.
Yeah.
So I went to Books A Million. Says it's in stock. No. Nowhere. I went to they moved everything, so I had to get adjusted to, because it'd been a minute, I had to get adjusted to where everything is now in Books A Million. And I was like, okay, where's the Star Wars section? Because I always put the Star Wars books together. They have like sci-fi and fantasy, and then they put like Star Wars in that section, but they put all the Star Wars at the end in its own little section of that. Along with, I think World of Warcraft also gets that same treatment. So everything World of Warcraft is also kind of in its own little section there.
Yeah.
After Star Wars. And so I looked and I didn't see it there, and I was like, well, it's actually a young adult book, and young adult books are not in that Star Wars section. Usually they put those in the young adult section still. So I went to the young adult section, And young adult section is in alphabetical order for that case. So I looked for George Mann, and I was like, okay, it's George Mann. Where is it? I see M. I see A. No George Mann. No George Mann anywhere. And so an employee tried really nicely. They were like, hey, I can help you. And they went to the little tablet where you can see if it's in stock, right?
Yeah.
So they went to the little tablet, put it in, and they were like, it shows it's in stock. It shows there's 3 copies. No 3 copies. So I look a little bit more. I look to see if it's maybe got put in the wrong section. So I will go to like the kids section and see if it's there. I double check if I missed it in the young adult section. I triple check in the Star Wars section. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
So that's day 1.
Day 1.
I give up.
Day 1, it's like, it's not there. Maybe I just need to give it some more time.
Yeah, give it a few more days. And so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a couple more days. And I give it till like Wednesday. And then I'm like, okay, so Wednesday, I go in, I do the same physical search. I go to the tablet, still shows there's copies according to the tablet. Go back through all 3 of those sections again, still nothing. So what I decide to do is, I go, well, that means it's probably in the back. It's probably in the back, and it just hasn't been brought up to the front. Because that happens.
Yeah.
Especially with newer releases. Sometimes they just don't have time to put them in the front yet. And so my brilliant brain goes, well, I can order it online as a pickup. I can go, I'm going to do it as a pickup, so that way they have to go into the back and grab it. Because that's the only reason, like, I'm not going to make them do that if, like, I'm not going to go, hey, I don't see it up front. Can you grab it from back? But if I order it online, I feel like less of a dick for doing it. Like, I don't know. There's that little barrier of separation there. It's the same thing at the end of the day, but then it gives them a chance to look for it instead.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, they can look for it on their own time, because when you order on Books A Million for a pickup, you basically order the pickup, and then they'll email you again when it's ready. So it gives them a chance to look for it. So it gives them whatever time they need in case they're busy. So I'm like, okay, well, while they're doing that, I'll go get lunch. So I order it online, go get lunch. I eat lunch, and it's been about an hour. Still didn't get the email. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go home. Eventually, I get an email that says, hey, your order's been canceled. We couldn't find it. Which means it's not even in the back. So there are no copies of Tears of the Nameless. I don't know if that means they didn't order any, which I doubt that's the case, because they tend to be really good at ordering the High Republic books. Or they are, I doubt it's that they sold out. I don't know what happened, actually. This is a case of I don't know. Because I don't think they sold out that quick. High Republic actually does decent numbers in reality. Like, they're New York Times best-selling series with a lot of the books. For the adult ones, anyways. So I imagine even the young adult and the junior ones do well. Especially the young adult ones, because I think the young adult aren't as overlooked as, say, the junior ones. Like, a lot of people kind of, like, we've had this talk, people skip the junior one because they think, oh, I'm too old for that. Young adult people will still pick up even if they're in their 30s. Because it's the same as picking up a Hunger Games book. It's young adult fiction. But people in their 40s and 50s pick up Hunger Games, so picking up a Star Wars young adult book is not that different. But yeah, that was my search for the book. Could not find it, so we just did the ebook.
Yeah.
So no physical copy. That's why we don't have it.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start? Well, before we dive into it, let's talk about our sponsor again.
Yeah. HelloFresh.
Yeah, our sponsor for this week is HelloFresh. Once again, they are offering us a code with a link. If you click our link, it'll automatically enter the code, but the code is also on screen. And it basically allows you to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. And so that's how you can get, started on your HelloFresh. It's if you're like me, who needs to be careful about your diet, it's a good way to meal prep and kind of just plan out what you eat on a weekly basis. Yeah, that's about it.
All right.
So, let's get into like what we want to talk about though. Speaking of hunger, the Nameless.
Yeah. Whew, boy, oh boy. There's a lot.
I think this book does a really good job of exploring, because it has two very specific themes: fear and just death, and those are kind of its main. I think fear especially is its main one, because all the characters are kind of dealing with that. Even even our main villain for it kind of is dealing with that in his own way. Even if he doesn't ever acknowledge it, we do see that he has it. And that seems to be like, and that's especially true with the flashbacks in this book. Because let's talk about your favorite character coming back, and my favorite. I'm glad he came back, Comac.
Comac's back, baby.
Yeah, Comac's back
After fucking off for
a lot of books.
a lot of books, Comac at the end of phase 1 basically hit him with a
I'm retiring.
I'm retiring, goodbye.
It turns out, no, he was still investigating everything.
Yeah.
But we get some flashbacks with him, because he does talk about how he misses Orla, and how that has impacted his decision for leaving, and also like his decision for coming back as well to help them, because he's like, he found this new information. He's like, I owe it to her to give this information to the Jedi, because I owe it to her, and it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get some flashbacks with her in them. So hey, we get some Orla in this book too, which is great. But we do heads up, we are getting a break for we're getting an ad for the Twitch viewers.
Yeah.
But we do get some flashbacks with Comac, and his big thing in those flashbacks is dealing with his fear and his faith, and how those are intertwined, really, for him. You use your faith to get over not really to get over your fear, but to overcome it, I should say. Because you don't really get over your fears. Your fears are still there. It's how you react to them. It's the same thing with the junior novel we read. You jump over your...
Yeah.
It's that. You're jumping over it. It's still there, but it's a matter of jumping over it and working towards going past it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's Comac's journey. And then, at least in the past. In the present, he's kind of more over that. I think his current situation is that he's more worried about how Reith is going to react to his return. Because he realizes what he did.
Yeah.
He's like, I left that boy high and dry.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I remember that scene, like, Reith is having a full-on panic attack while being knighted.
Yeah. And so, like, and in a similar situation, Reith is dealing with his own fears of the Jedi, what is going to become of the Jedi Order, and what happens if he doesn't figure out what's going on with the Blight and the Nameless in time.
Yeah.
And that becomes a guiding factor for him. And Aslan Rael is also using that fear to his advantage to play, because Aslan Rael is pulling some Hannibal Lecter stuff to Reith being Clarice Sterling, where we got some Silence of the Lamb going on, where he's going, hey, I need answers, and Aslan's like, what if I gave you a riddle instead?
Reith is like, it wouldn't be very Jedi of me to just fuck you up, so yeah, sure.
Sure, I'll play your game, old man. But also, they start to connect.
Yeah.
Which becomes worrisome for Reith's story. Because all the Jedi around him see Reith starting to degrade from being around Aslan. And, like, they're like, oh, he looks tired.
Aslan does, like, make some pretty valid points about, like, Reith's existence.
Yeah.
Existence? Fuck it, sure. I guess that word works. Because he's like, so, to review, he's lost 2 masters within about the same span of time, got knighted, and now the whole of the Order is on his back.
Yeah, he is now their hope, because he is the smartest one in the room.
And Retha's over here stressing, man. As anyone would.
Amadeo, on the other hand, I don't really see a fear storyline with him.
No. Amadeo.
His is more about loss. He gets the death end of the stick. Not because he dies, but he does experience death a lot in the story.
Master Lox dies, and I was like, Master Lox, you're fucked, man. What was this positivity? How dare you come into this story and be upbeat about shit?
Trying to help Wreath look at them, be like, hey, maybe you should take a step back.
You're not making it to the end of this book.
But Amadeo, I like Amadeo's story as well. I like.
You know what I would like story-wise? If Nameless were less effective against Jedi that they had already been used against.
Oh yeah, so like if like the one that was almost getting Comac was like less effective against Comac because Comac already escaped it. Yeah. Because Comac almost dies.
He got luck saved this man.
Because our main villain,
or the Force, depending on who you ask.
Because our main villain for the book, I'd say Sicarus is the main villain, but Bulin you could argue is also like because Baron Bulin does appear in the story. Mm-hmm. He's doing his experiments as usual.
I was thinking,
but I'd argue Sicarus is the real main villain because he's the one that's actually actively doing things against her.
Sicarus is the main antagonist, whereas Bulin is another greater.
He's the overarching antagonist. Yeah, it's kind of like an argument between like Palpatine versus Vader. On like Vader's the active threat, Palpatine's the over the looming.
Yeah.
And so,
Sicarus is the dragon to Baron Bulin's big bad.
Yeah. And so...
this is technically two, for lack of a better term, apprentices that Baron Bulin, who we've seen. Because we know he's got his science guy.
Yeah, Niv. But then he's got all of the... Because Sicarus is part of a larger group of those... I forgot what the...
Just keep calling them Jedi Hunters.
Yeah, there's another name they give them. I'll look it up real quick, but I'll let you continue your point while I'm doing that.
And so, he's like, I've got my science...
Children of the Storm.
He's like, I've got my little science child, and I've got this crack baby for hunting Jedi.
But all of the Children of the Storm are kind of like Sicarus in that regard, which we have already seen Children of the Storm before because we saw them in the High Republic comics, and we got more of that to talk about when we finish that.
That one had a Drengir grafted to him.
Yeah.
Which we already knew they could do that.
Yeah. And so it seems, like, the experiment for the Children of the Storm is taking Force sensitives and then using them against the Jedi, right? And then using them to guide the Nameless as well. Whereas Niv Drendau's thing is he's higher up than the children on the totem pole because he's a scientist who's also doing experiments like that. But his experiments are more focused on the Nameless, whereas Baron Bulin's on the overarching, like, okay, we got to look at all of it.
Bulin is the head of research and development.
Yeah, and Drendau's got like a specific niche.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine there's other scientists under Bulin that are similar to Drendau. We just don't see them.
Or if we're using Bulin's official title, Minister of Advancement.
Yeah. And so I imagine there's others that are like apprentice to him that are like Drendau that are actually like... Yeah. But Drendau seems to be his main apprentice and the one that we're focused on.
Yeah.
But he's not in this story, so...
Yeah, we get crack baby Sicarus.
Which I love. I love Sicarus as a villain.
Yeah.
Sicarus is... Okay, so... Psycho, brainwashed, force sensitive, that is always itching for them drugs that brainwashed him.
I need the good blood in me, says Sicarus.
Because as I guess the way that Bulin experimented specifically on Sicarus to get Sicarus into his state is he put Nameless blood into Sicarus.
Mm-hmm. And my brain went, it's a miracle this child's alive.
Yeah, because you don't just put...
That's not how blood works.
No. And in fact, doing something like that would kill him normally.
Yeah.
So I guess they just had matching blood types still.
I guess.
Otherwise, yeah, that would have killed him. But we know the blood's different because we've seen Nameless blood. It's that darker purple bluish color. Which is something that Sycorax keeps commenting on. He's like, why is my blood red? It should be...
It's like, I need the good blood in me again.
Because, content warning, there is self-harm in this book. Because Sycorax does self-harm a lot. So there's some content warning there.
Yeah. I'm like, I was like, oh, I know. When Sycorax is first introduced, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly what enemy type you are. And
it's the Psycho.
Yeah.
And the Psycho can be really fun, and I think George really writes him really well. But once again, George is really good at horror, because that's kind of where he started. He's one of the people that brought the Dringer about, sort of, with some of the short stories before they were brought into the High Republic, right? So it makes sense that they'd keep him for a lot of the darker parts of the High Republic. And I'd say that this is actually a pretty dark book, and like there's some good horror elements in it where I'm like, oh, that's pretty fucked up.
Seeing your master locks crumble to dust.
Any scene with Sycorax.
We don't see what's going on with Jedi Master Evie.
No.
But we can infer because of how we know Nameless operate. And the fact that she's been stuck with the three of them on a ship for a week.
Yeah.
And Sycorax definitely did help that situation.
And then what's it called? The Dark Side Temple. That's.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. The Shrine in the Depths.
Yeah, the Shrine in the Depths. That's another horror part of the story. I think, so Wreath has a dream about it first, which is really the horror element where he has the vision.
And he's like, "Hey, I know I've been talking to the creepy mad uncle guy,
but I sent something dark, extra dark in there."
They're like, "Yeah, you've just been hanging around Aslan too much," and so he's like, "Well, no one's listening to me, so I'm just gonna go to Vernestra."
Yeah, so he brings us to Vernestra, who is recovering from a fight with Markion
that she lost,
which also at first confused me, because that's the prologue is Vernestra's entrance to just after that fight, and so I was confused because I was like, wait, didn't Markion just try to meet with the Republic for a peace treaty like last time we saw him? So my brain was like, what's going on? Turns out, yes, so that peace treaty is still being in development, but that hasn't stopped the Nihil from attacking the Republic. And the Republic's just kind of shrugging about it, where they're like, yeah, we're still going to try to meet this man's demands, because that makes sense.
We don't see a lot of what's going on with the RDC apart from the guys they send on the missions with the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
And the stuff in this book specifically with Amadeo and Seth or whatever their name is, the Padawan, the first Jedi that Zephy, yeah.
And Zephy dies.
Yeah. Not.
Zephy was a really chill guy, and then he got murdered.
Yeah.
By Sycorax, because Sycorax was like, I
want to kill
Nameless, and Sycorax is like, I like watching when they die.
I like the dust.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Which
you weird little guy.
Man, that sucks for Affy, because Affy was becoming friends with him. Affy's like, you know...
Hey, Affy. In the writing room. Hey, Affy, you know that new friend you got? And they're gone.
It's the South Park. And they're gone.
Yep. Done. Did you enjoy that brief 40 seconds of where everything looked like it was going well?
And
I sure hope you did.
And they're gone.
Yep. God.
I do like having the vessel crew back.
Yeah, and Leox has a conversation that I think more people in fiction should have
Yeah.
with Affy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always have to be you helping. Like, we
can step back,
yeah.
and that's true because, I mean, but also
Affy's not going to, because
Affy's smart,
and good.
She's smart enough to know when to back off, though. At the same time,
Yeah.
I think she does know when to back off.
And Leox is like, hey, shit is getting riskier.
Of course, now that I've said that, I've probably somebody in the High Republic writers' room is like, all right, he said the thing. We're gonna kill her now.
No, they won't do that.
I don't know, man. If Claudia Gray's writing one of them books,
I'm gambling right now, and I will raise that they won't do that.
they won't. Do you think the entire? So do you think the entire vessel crew is safe?
I think the vessel crew is safe for the most part, but here is the next question I'm gonna follow.
Because Claudia Gray is writing one of the next books.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they'll follow the crew of the vessel.
No, but it most likely means that we're gonna get some heartbreaks.
Someone's going to die.
Yeah.
Someone's either going to die or wish they did.
Yeah.
Who would it hurt you the most out of the vessel crew to be,
Damn, that's not fair. Oh. See, Leox, we already had a bait and switch. Because of parachutes. I don't know, man. Geode would be a rough one if Geode died somehow. If somehow Geode died, I think the High Republic fan base would riot.
They would lose their minds.
Because the High Republic fan base, myself included, love Geode.
While I am neutral on Geode, I don't want him to die.
Yeah. I think it's
unlike that Jedi whose name I don't remember.
I think it's because Geode, in the case of Geode, why people love him is just because of the. It starts as a bit of the irony of, oh, it's a rock, but also this rock now has somehow created so much emotional attachment to these characters that we're like, oh no, he's more than just a rock. He actually is a person.
Yeah.
And there's stuff to him. Like I love the bit throughout this book where they're like, oh, he's noticing something's wrong with the vessel. Nobody believes him though. Geode
he spends the entire book
going
trying to figure out what's wrong with the ship.
He's like, yeah, Geode's like, something's wrong with my baby, something's wrong with the ship, what is it? Meanwhile, both Leox and Affy are like, it's fine, and then it turns out, no.
They're essentially seeing the check engine light, and Geode is like, no, you don't understand,
he's like, if this light's on, I need to fix it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so it becomes, I do like that it paid off. Because it did play the rule of 3 on that, because it was mentioned like a couple times, and then it paid off. And then it was like, oh yeah, no, it is messed up. And of course it's during like a moment when a big fight's going on, and they're like, shit, we gotta fix this.
It's like, you couldn't wait until later? Oh god. An interesting thing to note in this book is the dynamic between teacher and student.
Yeah, that's because I was gonna bring that up because of the Aslan Rail and Wreath, and then the Comac and Wreath especially. Yeah. But I mean, we do get it's something that's noticed throughout the entire thing, because you can argue even outside the Jedi, Leox and Affy. While Affy is the captain, Leox is still very much a mentor character who's like, hey, here's some advice from somebody who's been around.
Even to an extent, Miralox and Amadeo.
Yep.
Eve and Zaffy. Hell, even Baron Bulin and Sicarus in their own weird way.
Yeah, it's a story of masters and apprentices. And it's done. It is really balanced really well in that storytelling.
Even with Comac and his own master in those flashbacks.
Mm-hmm. And Orla Journey and her master to an extent, like for the very little bit they're on at the same time. And so like it's, I think that just comes with the territory of Star Wars to a degree. But also this definitely explored that dynamic more, especially for Wreath. I think Wreath had the brunt of that arc, well, that theme, because Wreath is going through. I may be a knight, but I also feel like he's like I don't know if I found my place.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to, but at the same time, am I? And
Aslan's not fucking helping things.
yeah, if anything, Aslan's kind of like I could be your teacher, but also I can't.
Aslan is trolling the shit out of.
He's like I could be. He's like I could be your teacher, but I can't. And then Wreath is also having his own teacher dynamic on it because he's also with Amadeo. Mm-hmm. You could argue that Wreath is the teacher and Amadeo is being an apprentice to him to a degree where there's kind of that dynamic there. And if this were any other book, I would have seen it ending with, because since Locke dies, I could have seen it ending with Wreath taking him in, going, "I'll be your teacher."
Yeah. Now, it does not end with that.
No, like I said, any other book, I could have seen that.
I think, if it was up to me and I had to pair up like
a character we know with Amadeo, or
yeah, from specifically this book, I think I would pair up Eve with Amadeo.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that because they've both lost the other, and so yeah.
And also, I think Amadeo's optimism might really fucking help Eve out.
And we know Comac's not really coming, like...
Yeah, Comac is like, I'm here to help. Because, like,
but
I may have left... I moved out, basically.
Yeah, I moved out, I let y'all keep my weapon, but, like, I'm not coming back officially. I'm here as he's here as a consultant.
Yeah.
He's got a consultant.
Going on to one of our...
earlier conversations
about like when do you retire from, I guess, an organization like the Jedi.
Yeah. So he's a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we have another like looking for an older alien race in Star Wars and star map puzzles and
looking for the Ptolemites.
Yeah.
Well, we found them.
They're dead.
They're dead.
We already kind of figured that.
We already knew that. Wreath, I'm gonna touch the rock. Come back. Are you sure you want to do that, Wreath?
I want to rock. Hey, turned out the rocks that we've kind of known about these for a minute because there was the comic about them. But we were like, when that comic came out, we were like, why are these important? Why are we introducing more artifacts?
Stones.
Yeah, the Echo Stones. We're like, why are we introducing more artifacts to this storyline? Now we know why.
Barnabas Vim was apparently a busy motherfucker.
Yeah. And so, like, the Echo Stones are apparently attached to the rods. More than likely, I think the situation is like the main like piece of the rod is an Echo Stone. Because when we've seen illustrations of the rod, they always have like a main like gem in them, and so I think that is part of the Echo Stone. And so, because they talk about that, they're like, well, we've never seen them with anything other than those rods, and so they're like, we know Markion has those, but like, where does that? Also, can we talk about the bigger issue with the... Because let's go back, because I know you wanted to talk about the shrine.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, the temple guard...
there's no temple guards protecting from the Sith shrine that exists. So up to this point, I have not had a problem with the shrine existing, right? Because where I think is a difference between you and me on like... It's on, like... that's weird. For me, I accepted it more immediately because the way I read it was always the Jedi initially, like, I read it as the Jedi didn't know that it was still affecting anything. Like, I also thought they had over time forgotten it existed, right? So I figured they wouldn't have guards because they forgot it existed. Which is why Palpatine during the Clone Wars would have been able to go in and out of it, because we know he does because of a book that you haven't read yet, Tarkin. Tarkin talks about how he uses the shrine to power up a lot of the time, and to kind of just get that dark side juice. Benefits of being the Supreme Chancellor, being able to go into the Jedi Temple whenever he wants, and then just find secret passages that go there. But no, it turns out no. In fact, the Jedi, as recently as the High Republic era, which is not that far away, relatively speaking, from the prequel, like the prequel Clone Wars era, they know about it. In fact, like, just regular Jedi Knights know about it. It'd be one thing if, like, Yoda knew about it and, like, the Council knew about it, right? That'd be one thing.
Like Yoda, the Council,
like that make
the Grandmaster. That would make sense. Like if they were like, we
know about this, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we think it's not effective anymore. Like, we built the Jedi Temple on top of it to cleanse, right? So we assume that it worked. But we also, as an audience, know that it didn't. And we know that that's why, like, the Jedi are always clouded during the prequels, because they're like, oh, the dark side clouds everything. It's because that Sith Shrine's there and Palpatine's actively using it. And so, like, we know retroactively that has been the explanation, right? But now we know that even regular Jedi Knights like Reith know about it, and we're like, wait, you know about this?
So did it not become... Did people just die and stop thinking about it? Because that's the only way I can...
Except Yoda would know about it.
Yeah. And Yoda, I guess, is just like...
And I would think...
it's fine.
I would think Yoda would be like, oh, dark side clouding everything. Maybe I should check the one dark side major thing that's beneath us.
Oh, you didn't think to go and check on the evil fucking thing in the basement?
So,
like, I understand why, like, the Jedi would try to do that, but I'm like, my reasoning for why it don't work that way is basically, like, building on top of something, especially a thing that is concentrated with evil magic bullshit.
well, they were hoping the good magic bullshit would outweigh the evil magic bullshit, which normally does work in a fantasy setting, right? That is normally how you cleanse a dark side place, right? Like a dark evil magic place, right? Is you do good.
My thing is like, oh, that just sets the game to 0. That doesn't actually fix the problem. You put a band-aid on it.
But once again, I see the logic, because like
philosophically, yes, that is how it should work.
In fantasy universes, normally that is how that works. But in this case, in this case, it did not.
And then we get to the crux of how there's like maybe 20 temple guards at best.
Yeah, we've done the math. We're like, we never see more than like maybe 10 on screen at a time, and I think the temple guards are underfunded. I think they don't have enough. I think there just aren't enough, because there's no guards stopping anybody from going from the shrine.
Mm-hmm.
There is one guard on Aslan Rail.
Yeah, he's got a bad hip too, that one guard.
There's maybe 3 outside the temple, like when you go through the entrance.
Yep, maybe 3.
And then, like, we've seen, like, when they're in bigger crowds, it's like whenever they're arresting somebody in a show.
Yeah.
And it's usually no more than 10. So, yeah, I think they're underfunded.
Yep.
We need more temple guards, is what I'm hearing.
More temple guards.
We need more temple guards, because, like, they are not... Why were there not at least 2 on Aslan Rail?
Yeah, I'm like, that is the thing that I was thinking. I'm like, 1 seems inadequate.
Especially because Vernestra and some of the other Jedi start to realize, oh, there's an insider giving information to the Nihil.
Yeah.
And like, obviously your first suspicion would be, oh, well, maybe they're getting information directly from Aslan.
Yeah.
Like, that's Vernestra's first guess. And so she's like, well, who could it be? Because it wouldn't be Reith. And nobody else trusts Aslan.
Yeah.
And then the only other solution is maybe a temple guard, which would once again be solved by having 2 guards, because then you could have one watching the other.
Yep. For some reason, they didn't think this through. There's a reason why guards work in pairs.
Except usually if one guard's corrupt, usually the other one is too in those situations. Whenever, in fiction especially, whenever we have a traitor guard, usually he has a buddy, and they're usually partnered together all the time. So then it doesn't having the partner system doesn't exactly work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, well, we're both in on it, so
It's either one is corrupt and one is not,
or they're both corrupt.
or they're both corrupt, and with the one is corrupt and one is not. One of them's probably gonna end up killing the other,
So
and it's not gonna look good.
yeah,
Meanwhile, on back to
but
the
we
subject,
never solve who that is.
yeah,
By the way,
we don't.
I think that's a mystery for later.
Yeah, that's another mystery for later.
Okay, who do you think it is? If you had to guess off of what we know.
Well, I know it can't be Eve. She wasn't there. Can't be Zaffy. He's dead.
Because I don't think it's the guard.
It's not.
Because that seems to, well, even if we go, oh, the circumstantial is enough, like, if we go, the circumstantial evidence is enough to point at the guard, I think that's a frame-up.
Yeah.
Because, one, I also think narratively, see, I'm getting meta with this, narratively, that's not satisfying.
Mm.
For it to be, oh, it was just a temple guard with no name. Needs to be somebody we know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's... Like, Wreath spends the most time with Aslan, but I don't think it's him. Unless it's unintentional.
Yeah.
Like, unless he's doing something unintentionally that's giving the information to the Nihil somehow. Like, maybe he's sleepwalking or something. But, like, unless that's
But
happening...
Wreath hasn't had any, like...
He hasn't had any signs of that.
Any signs of that, or a predilection for it. Vernestra's had some wild fucking dreams and shit.
Vernestra...
But that's only when she's in hyperspace.
Yeah.
So that can't be it, because she's on Coruscant the whole time.
And Vernestra is another case of... I could see her being the traitor, but also it would have to be like something out of her control. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It would have to be something where it's like, oh, she's doing something that she normally wouldn't do. Situation, right? I also think, and I was talking to you about this in the car. I think we're starting to see Vernestra's path towards who she becomes in the Acolyte in this book.
She's gone from the biggest snitch in the world to we don't talk to the police ever.
Yeah, and also keeping a lot of secrets. So, like, I can see how we get from this Vernestra to Acolyte Vernestra now. Because that was my big problem originally with the Acolyte Vernestra. I was like, I don't see how she gets there. But I'm starting to see it in this book.
Yeah. Can't be Eve. She was off planet at the time. I don't know where Yoda's at.
And Yoda definitely wouldn't be the traitor.
And Yoda wouldn't do that.
Unless Comac is, like, pulling the rug out of everybody, like...
But... Then why would he
offer to help?
Yeah.
Unless that's his cover, but also, like, that would be a pretty big rug pull.
Yeah. The motive there is not good enough.
We don't, or at least we don't see it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is a big mystery.
And Aslan has even admitted, he's like, no.
He's like, I want the Jedi to succeed.
I want the Jedi to succeed, and I don't want Wreath dead. Me talking to the Nihil fucks that up.
And I actually, weirdly enough, believe Aslan.
I believe him, because I'm like, yeah, why would he? He has no benefit from that.
Because I think he does not want the Nihil to win.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I will give Aslan credit for, is I know he does not want the Nihil to win. So... Because he still calls them the Path. Like, he still, like, refers to them by the old name. And he's like, no. It's the same organization, different name.
Mm.
They use the same MO.
Neo Umbrella is still Umbrella.
Yeah. He's like, the same MO, same tactics, same group.
Yeah. And it's like, God, I might need... And then there's, we know it can't be Leox, Geode, or Affy.
Yeah, they aren't even really... Temple. Yeah, they're never really there, yeah. And unless somebody faked their death, like, which we know, not possible. We saw how they died. Pretty rough, so it can't be anybody who died.
Yeah, and it's not Amadeo. He hasn't had the time, and he's never been down there.
No. I also don't think I also don't know what his motive would be.
Yeah.
So, if anything, it's nobody in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's Elzar.
Elzar. pulling a Dooku. In order to resolve the problem, I shall become the problem.
Yeah. Unless Elzar's doing a full tilt.
Maybe I should go and, like, relook at that one of the council meeting things. Because
Elzar's there.
Elzar's there.
Avar's there. What's his name? Adempo is there.
Yeah.
Master Adempo is the one that's kind of the most negative about the whole working with Aslan thing. He's like, what the fuck? I don't like this. And Yoda's like, we got no choice, man.
I'm not sure. Wait, does Adempo make it to the Clone Wars?
I think he does. So
okay,
yeah, so it's probably not
him. And it can't be Patre Vetter. He's
dead.
And it also has to be someone in that room, right?
Somebody who has that knowledge.
Yeah. So, because the only two places you could get that knowledge from are either when Reeth is talking to Aslan.
So, like, overhearing,
Yeah.
which would mean Temple Guard.
Which would mean the Temple Guard. Except that's not the case.
Unlikely.
It's
you know,
unlikely.
I will say I would not be too satisfied with it, but I will accept it if it is the Temple Guard. It just doesn't feel like that's... it feels like that's a red herring.
Yeah. So it has to be someone who is in the room for the council meeting. Because they figure the, like, second one where Comac and Reeth are there, and they're like, we need to go to Tollus.
Yeah. So they learn about that part, because that's how Sicarus essentially tracks him down.
Bulin is like, hey, here's this information.
Which means it's also, I doubt it's an informant directly to Markion.
Yeah.
I think it's an informant directly to Bulin. What if somebody's been brainwashed by Bulin?
I mean, it's a possibility, but...
Because that would make sense with all the type of experiments Bulin's doing.
Yeah.
And we know that other Jedi can fall for it, because Force users in general are the ones that he's targeting. So why wouldn't he try to have a double agent sort of deal Jedi?
Avar is there in that meeting, but she and Bulin have never
crossed
encountered
paths,
each other,
yeah.
So she's off the list.
That we've seen, anyways, because he could have done this off screen. He could have very easily met a Jedi off screen and then done his experiments and then been like, "Oh, I have the advantage here. They don't know this Jedi went missing. I could send them back."
Sorry, I just had a really dumb thought.
What if it is actually Comac, but he's brainwashed?
I mean, it's possible. I doubt it. But it's possible.
Think because we don't know what Comac's been up to this whole time. Comac barely escapes Sicarus, but also does escape him. And while Bulin does, like, knock him down a peg for letting Comac escape him, that could have been for show, for the sake of Sicarus. Because maybe he's trying to make sure Sicarus doesn't know about who his informant is. I think I've talked myself into this theory. Because we don't know what's been up with Comac.
Oh, and Emmerich, our detective boy, our detective man, is stuck in the occlusion zone, also searching for clues on the Nameless.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, we need another Emmerich comic.
But the stupid idea that I had is, what if Bulin's just, like, got a little, like, picture of one of the Jedi Masters? Because you know how they call into council meetings? And he's just listening in over the phone.
There is no traitor. He just managed to plant a bug somewhere.
Yeah. He just took a screenshot and put up a picture of the Jedi Master. They just haven't been talking the entire time.
That could be funny. That would be... I still like my Comac theory, just because it would make it to where nobody has to actually be a bad guy. But it also would make so much sense with the lack of information we have about Comac right now.
Yeah.
Because that would also, like, and maybe Bulin wanted him to bring that information to them because he was like, oh, well, Comac figured this out. I'll let him go back with this information because then I can get information on what their next move will be if he goes back. Because up to this point, there hasn't been anybody spying until Comac shows up. Because the spy's not even mentioned until after. I don't think the spy's mentioned as a thing until...
The spy is not mentioned, but there is a weird thing.
Where it wouldn't make sense because Comac wouldn't have that information sort of deal.
So the thing that is bothering me, right, is like one of the times when Wreath goes to visit Aslan. Aslan's got like a wooden little puzzle box thing, and Wreath assumes that it's from like Yoda. It's like, oh, that's like a children's toy from Coruscant that you can buy in the lower districts.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case or not.
You think that that's some sort of listening device, maybe?
It could be.
Somebody got it in?
Yeah. And we do know the Jedi, they do accept gifts from strangers.
Yeah. Basically like donations.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it'd be a way to get that information. I don't know why you would... I guess the radio is just a side thing.
It would have to be a really good radio, though.
No, I mean, like, the radio that's over...
But, I mean, you would have to have a really good comm system, because that prison's pretty deep into the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, basically a floor above the shrine. Because they're like...
I'm not saying it's impossible.
No. I'm not saying it's...
We are throwing out some...
I think it's fun talking about this, though. Like, this is the fun part of, like, reading these things. Is going...
I like how you're... how we are of very different minds about how, like, these things are working. You're like, what if they brainwashed Comac? And I'm like, what if they just planted... They, like, essentially, they just held the phone line open.
But also, at the same time, I wouldn't be, like, mad at any solution at this point.
I'm curious to see how this goes.
Like, this is more just fun speculation for me. This is not, if they don't do this, then I'm gonna... No, this is like, oh, well, you know, let's talk about what it could be. And so, yeah. Speaking of what things could be, you could be getting some you could be getting...
Our sponsor, they jump scared me.
You could be getting some free breakfast by getting our sponsor, HelloFresh. As they say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and HelloFresh agrees. In fact, they're giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. That means you'll enjoy a totally free breakfast with every single HelloFresh delivery. Now that's important. So, yeah, go ahead and check out our sponsor, which is linked down below if you're watching on YouTube. It's in the Twitch chat if you're on Twitch. They are also linked down below in our About page. So if you miss that, and using our code, you get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. Alright, sorry, I had to take that opportunity to do the... That was too good of an opportunity to not take that as a little shift. I jump scared him with the sponsor.
What I was gonna say is Sicarus gets pretty bad at the end.
No, yeah. Speaking of hunger, he died.
Important, yeah. Yeah.
The Nameless should have gotten some HelloFresh.
Yeah. Oh, God. Also, important detail to note about Sicarus. Not only is he a Force sensitive, he's also a member of the Brotherhood of the Ninth Door, which I think are assassins or illusionists.
They're like illusionist, I think. I think it's a little column A, little column B. Yeah, they're a dark side religious sect. Oh yeah, they
Hey, Solandra.
Oh yeah, they could disguise themselves, so they were assassins. Their whole thing was like, we can use the Force to make you see us as somebody else. Stab, stab, stab.
Who are those people with the speeder? Do you recognize them? Members of a sect known as the Brotherhood of the Ninth Door. You can tell by the bone masks that they wear. It said they fashioned them from the skulls of their own dead.
Yeah, he was looking at the
They're
quote for
Cubone.
Salandra and Keth. R.I.P. Keth.
Yeah, he'll be missed.
He was a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Just worked at a. Why do like people who have no involvement or like I work at the church? I work as like the Jedi version of a preschool teacher. Get it so bad.
he's like, I'm just the janitor here. Oh, dead.
Damn.
But yeah, let's go ahead because we are almost 2 hours in.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know, right? Time has flown by this
Yeah.
one. I think that is a good sign for this, and that's why I already know my number for this, and it's one I've been given more and more sparingly. It's a 9. This is a 9 for me. I'm probably gonna read this again, especially before the next one comes out, because like I like this book a lot.
I did enjoy it.
It's not quite a 9.
No, I will give it a 9 as well. I just wish I hadn't forced myself to read it so fast.
That's because we had a week, but it was also a busy week for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were basically working every day more than usual.
Yeah.
And so,
Like, normally.
Normally you'd have the book done maybe Thursday.
Yeah.
But this time you had it done yesterday.
Yeah.
And so.
So, for me, the last... I've been getting a day off a week, and all of the shifts I've been working are, like, closing shifts.
Which are good, but also bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't get to hang out with my friends when I'm working the closing shift.
Yeah. Well... So, yeah, I mean, I really like this book a lot. I want to find a physical copy, so I will continue to hunt for it. But, yeah, I really like this. I'm glad we got to read this. And, once again, George Mann just...
Yeah.
Out of the park. Thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Woo!
There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available. Also be sure to check out our Discord, which is also linked wherever you are watching. So in the case of YouTube, it's down below. In the case of Twitch, it's also down below. It's in the About section, but it's also, you can see it right above us here. That's the invite link. That's the actual link. You can't click that, but you can, like, copy that into your search engine. Sorry, I'm catching this Pokemon.
Point is, the links are there.
Yeah, they're all here.
Yeah.
These are all the usernames and the links and whatever you need to find in order to find us. That if you join our Discord, though, that's how you become a part of our community.
You can catch sometimes you can catch us watching some Highlander.
Sometimes some My Little Pony. Now sometimes Kevin can fuck himself. We're kind of doing a thing where everybody's kind of taking a turn with what we're doing. So on my day it's Highlander. On Brit's day it's My Little Pony. Although once we already discussed this, once season 2 of Arcane comes out, that's going to be Brit's day.
Oh hell yeah!
Because that's next month. It's coming up. Arcane season 2.
Yeah.
And then Stephanie brought Kevin Can Fuck Himself. I'm surprised you haven't made a push for anything yet.
I think we talked about this. I was like, should I take them?
Oh yeah,
through?
you did. You were like Kroll, and then like some
like,
other stuff.
I think it was like Kroll, Quick and the Dead, and Berserk 97.
Yeah, and I'm down for any of those, honestly. So we might have a 4th day in our... Which, that was already confusing. Brit forgot that it was Highlander Day. She was like, what day is... For this last one, she was like, what day is it? I'm like, it's my turn. She's like, oh, because I forgot now that we've got 3 people. I'm like, don't worry, I'm keeping track. So, yeah. So, this Thursday is Brit's week. So we're doing My Little Pony. I think I wrote a really good little description. Because I try to do, like, the events in there, and then I write a description for the event. I think I wrote a really good description that I'm proud of. Are you pulling it up?
I'm pulling it up.
But yeah, so that's why you should join the Discord. Thank.
Not channel upload announcements.
Yeah,
That's a
no.
different thing.
It's in the events. Yeah.
We continue our journey of seeing how much of a gaslighter Princess Celestia is, as our short king Spike does his best in the rest of season 1.
Yeah, our short king Spike. Princess Celestia, the gaslighter. I think that might be one of my best descriptions for a movie night in the Discord server. But no, and so yeah, that's multiple reasons to join our stuff and hang out with us. You can also listen to our D&D games when we play them. We've been taking a break from Grim Hollow just because we're so far ahead of the schedule on my end.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been taking a break there. This upcoming Friday, we're coming back.
Okay.
So we're coming back. We're back.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be working a bit late. I don't know for certain, but I will let you know.
Yeah, okay. So maybe we won't, but we'll find out.
Oh no, come back regardless.
Oh, okay. So even if you can't make it...
Even if I can't make it, go.
Okay. Okay, because because it's not the beginning of an arc. If it was the beginning of the arc, that'd be different, and it's not really there's no focus on you specifically.
Yeah.
So we should be good.
This one is fun.
As long as everybody else is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Tessa Arts for the new follow on the Twitch.
Yeah.
Thanks for following us. But yeah, you can all. Well, speaking of D&D though, we have some friends that we like to shout out that play some D&D.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch some friends of ours over on YouTube at the Steam_Dungeon playing Trials of Naboo. They're on like season 2 or something. I'm not entirely sure what's wrong. I think Mana is having an argument with his id.
Okay, so we're getting real deep.
For my people who studied psychology, you know what that is. If you didn't, go look it up. It's a fun read.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting real deep now. But yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we do something a little more simple. We go back to a little bit more simple. We're going to finish the original run of the Clone Wars with Season 5, because this is technically when the original run ended, even though we get 2 more seasons after this.
Oh boy.
So, I have spoken.
Y'all be safe out there.